Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. You're watching, hopefully, fingers crossed, the waking up of a very long slumbering Singer 99K. This machine would have been built, or the head, the body and chassis of the machine would have been built in Kilbowie, Clydebank, Scotland. Those of you who watch my channel from Scotland, please correct me if I have Clydebank and Kilbowie backwards, because a lot of times in North America, when we list our municipal areas, we will list we'll list the town or the village, and then the province or the state, and then eventually the country. So the largest Singer factory ever made in Singer's golden era was the Scotland factory, the largest in the world, at least the largest Singer factory in the world, that's for sure. Anyway, what are we doing? Well, we dealt with changing a light bulb, which created quite a few videos. I have made videos on this machine for overhauling the motor. And sometimes when I get a sewing machine, I never know how many videos it may require, because I show the things that I do to the machine. If the light bulb was fairly in good shape, the old one was petering out, then I wouldn't have even made the video. So I like to make videos when I actually do things. This machine needed, I had to inspect the motor to see if it was worth saving. As it turned out, hooray, it was. It just needed some lubrication after how many years of going without. Let's see here. What are we doing now? So I mentioned to you all when I started this wake up project on the 99 that you see here, normally I save cleaning the body for last, and I have more sort of buffing to do, but I had to go in and just get the filth. It was covered. Those of you who've been following this little machine sad story, hopefully back to redemption, it was covered in not only dust but some mildew, and it was stinky and nasty, and I just had to get that off. Normally I save the easy. I say the easy. There's nothing easy about cleaning a sewing machine, but one of the most rewarding things for bringing a machine back is to clean it up and let it shine and look gorgeous again. Normally I save that for last, but not this time, because I needed to get that filth off of there. You may find that you have to do the same. So what am I going to do? We still have, where's my plate here? I'm going to put the plate back on, because we have to go around and do as we always do. We need to take a look at the machine. Oh, now this thumb screw here, by the way, the side plate on the 99, and this will apply to the 66 models as well, quite a few other Singer machines. There is a screw that needs to be loosened, one of them with a screwdriver, and the other one down here, it's a thumb screw, right? It has the knurled, the textured side there. Now, just to let you know, the finest steel and the finest screws ever made are from this era, and you'll see these in Singers and Pfaffs and Neckies of a certain time frame. But if this thumb screw did not move for me, I wouldn't force it. I mean, we don't need to do that. It would take a little penetrant oil, or even just some sewing machine oil, and let it sit. But it did move for me. It was just a little sleepy at first. All right, now when you take that thumb screw out, and you can do it you can take the thumb screw out first and then the top or the bottom. Whatever you do, make sure that you are holding on to this plate, because if you don't, it might be stuck on there with old oil, but if it falls, it's going to come crashing down, and it could scratch your chrome bobbin plate. It could scratch your paint. No need for that. Now this was loose. I'm using a regular flathead screwdriver that's tapered. Now you may say, if you watch my channel, hey, why didn't you use your special screwdriver tips that don't strip screws? I didn't need to, because it moved easily for me. When you have a screw that's tight and you're really having to put stress on it, you definitely want to use the screwdriver tips that are designed they are sized specifically to the screws, and they are less likely to cause, notice I'm putting pressure here, I don't want that to fall. You are more likely to strip a screw head if the screw is tight. Okay, so now I've got my hands on this thing. Oh, and it came right off. So what do we got behind there? Who knows? I mean, it could be anything. It could be, it could be dog hair. It could be, it could be something. You just never know. These things have been around a long time. Let's see how things move, right? So I'm looking to see if, we're going to want to take this apart and clean. We got a lot of cleaning to do yet here. And cleaning, while it may not sound as complex as inspecting and overhauling a motor, the way you clean a machine is going to impact either your success or lack of it. Because sewing machines are exposed to all kinds of stuff: lint, thread remnants, and when they sit, they get all old oil. You can see a lot of this sort of amber, brown looking stuff. I'm pretty sure, now we'll have to see, it should not be rust. Sometimes it's rust, but very often it's old oil, and that's a much better thing. Okay, let's see. We can go in here, put a little light there. We've got some nice natural light today. I'm just going to go in here. Again, it's always good to start at the top, right? Work your way down, because if you start cleaning lint down below, or dust down here, you're just going to fill it with dust again. Gravity is a thing. So I'm just coming in here with my lint brush and just seeing what's in there. I haven't really, where's my flashlight? I haven't shown my flashlight in there because I have natural light. I prefer to work in natural light. What do we got? Now, there's a good reason why you should do this when you first get a machine. And when I say do this, not just because we're cleaning it, but also get a flashlight and look in there. You never know, right? I'm going to come over here. I don't have my hand wheel on yet. I'm just turning the drive shaft because I can get a different view when I move the mechanism around. What am I looking for? Well, obviously I'm looking for dust bunnies, and there's some in here, a little bit. Not as bad as I thought there might be. You just, they get in there over time. And I'm also looking for pieces of thread that might get caught. It's less likely to be up here. Usually when thread is caught, it's usually either on your bobbin winder way over here, maybe on your hand wheel pulley, or it could be down below. You can get those thread jams because thread has often broken, or it's wound around something and is creating havoc and pandemonium. But occasionally you will get a thread remnant up top, and as the machine is moving around, that thread can get between moving parts, and it can, things come to a screeching halt. You'd be surprised how strong thread is. But anyway, I'm not really seeing anything suspicious in here. All right, so what else can we do from here? Now, there are different ways to do this. Some people will clean and then they will oil. I would suggest, and I may be contradicting myself. You may have seen me do it before, but ideally what you want to do is do all your dust and loose dirt cleaning first. If it's really bad, sometimes you folks have seen me I'll take my vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaners can be helpful. Just remember, get all of your precious parts and screws and bits away. The only thing you want to vacuum are things that are battened down, because if you don't really want to go through a vacuum cleaner looking for that precious screw that you vacuumed up by mistake. It can and does happen, folks, so I ain't kidding. All right, so I've gotten this out of here. We're going to come back. I'm going to leave the plate off because I'm going to come back and we'll talk about when you're cleaning a machine, should you always clean the surfaces when they look a little brown or amber colored? Maybe not, but we'll talk more about that. All right, so this machine does not have a lid, right? Because essentially what's going on here is there's a drive shaft going across inside, and there's not much else going on in there. We will see. I want to actually got a little, there we go. So it's a little something plugging up one of the holes there. And the holes on the top are just for easy access for oiling. Now, I don't see anything in the way here, but I noticed that our presser foot, is got a lot of pressure on it. And it's literally, oh man, that's tight. It's turning, left is loose, and I'm trying to pull it back up. Now again, oh wow, Don't know if you guys saw that, but I saw a piece of lint in there. But that may or may not be what's, let's get that out of there. There's a little piece of lint in there. Basically, it's possible. This is like the setting that I've seen on some machines that I've worked on recently where someone just had the machine set at something and left it there for decades, right? Without moving it. Because now that I'm turning it, okay, now that I'm able to turn it, we're getting more threaded areas. Of course, this is how you adjust the pressure on your presser bar. There are times when you don't want it to push down as hard, especially with delicate fabrics. So, fortunately, this moves. Sometimes it'll be frozen, and if it is, we have penetrant oils. I have techniques I've shown in other videos how to get parts loosened. This one turned for me. It was a little stubborn, but it did move as long as it's turning, but you got to be careful. Again, you don't want to break it. So this will definitely be getting oiled because it was designed to. That's how it was meant to function. Okay, now that we've dealt with, or we've taken a look at these pieces, we are going to drop down our perspective, lower your perspective, and we're going to take a look at the bobbin area. Now this is an area that when the engineers designed these machines, they knew that these machines would get lint in them. That's just the nature of sewing. Anyone who sews can tell you that. This plate is not fully installed. It's actually semi-installed. I just put it on there. We're going to keep it out of our way for now. What do we need to do? Well, we're going to come in and we're going to remove the needle plate. Now, that's not the screwdriver I want. I have a feeling this needle plate might be a little more stubborn than some of these other screws have been, and I don't want to strip it. So I'm going to find my corresponding screwdriver bit. Now this one's too wide. Remember, if it's too wide, that can also cause stripping. I think it's too wide. Is it too wide or too thick? Yeah, it's not seating perfectly. Ah, here we go. That's the one I want right there. Right, okay. So what I'm doing, remember I've got only so much clearance between here and here, so that can be tough. So one of the things I like about my little screwdriver set is it has a little ratchet. And this thing has been tough. This thing has lasted. My gosh, I've used it for some really stubborn screws. I'm going to make sure I'm installing this with this reading out because I'm going to be removing a screw here. And it gives me the low clearance I need. Yeah, I was right. This has been on here a while, so we're gonna have to. Oh, wow. Now, if I had used a regular flathead screwdriver, I could have easily stripped or damaged the screw. And not only is that bad for the screw's future, it's also bad for you as a sewer because remember, your fabric's going to be gliding right over that. So that screw is actually, the head of the screw is like a sort of like, let's get our presser bar extension out of the way. You also want to remember that the heads of these screws are actually curved, right? And so that hopefully your fabric glides over them. Now let's see. This is going to be in my way. See if I can get this without causing too much unhappiness. There we go. I'm holding it down. I'm pushing down with my right hand very firmly because I don't want to. I really don't want to have this strip out. If I can get it loose enough, I can get my ratchet out of the way. See if I can come over here behind it. Now, I'm using, this here is a regular screwdriver, but I've already loosened the screw. And, well, sort of. Trying to get in there. It can be a little strange. It's easy to take your sewing foot off. There we go. And again, this is something you want to just go slowly. If you can't get the screw to budge, and I wasn't sure if I could get this back screw to move at all, if that happens to you, be patient. Just put a little bit of penetrant and let it soak, and it'll, I would be careful with heat because you've got, remember these black finishes on the sewing machines, Singer's and other brands at the time, they're beautiful. They're a little delicate. They can be damaged. It's one of the trade-offs you get for lacquer or a lacquer shellac-like finish that these machines had. Let's see if this one's, yeah. So this one's going to move for me, and I can just, actually I can take my screwdriver bit out now and just use it, and I have even less need for clearance. So I can tell it's been a while. These machines are quite forgiving, folks. They really are if you're patient, right? Wake them up, be gentle. Don't rouse them, with a bugle call. you wanna gently wake them up, because they are forgiving. You've seen this many times on this channel, how sewing machines from this era, even though they've sat not always in the best places, this machine was not treated respectfully when it was put into hibernation or dry dock, whatever we want to say. Now, there's something I'm going to do here. The Singer 99, it threads from the left to the right. Okay, not all Singers do, but this one does. And I can, whenever you're putting your needle in to see if it's in right, you will feel the groove of the needle, which is only on one side, it's on the left. But I am going to I'm going to take it out. I know I'm going to replace the needle. I always do, because I don't know how old this needle is, or more importantly, how sharp it is, how much use it had. And I just replace needles as a matter of course. Okay, now let's lift this up, and it's sitting there. I'm going to gently pry. There we go. And sometimes it may feel like it's glued down a little bit, and that's because, well, that's what you get, folks, when you have years of old oil that's gotten in here somehow, either put there by accident or just dripped on, combined with lint, and you get this sticky, it's almost like an adhesive mud. It's not, again, the machine is going to forgive us. We're going to clean it up, but it needs to be dealt with. Don't start sewing with your vintage machine if you say, well, it doesn't look nice, but it runs, and don't do that, right? Your machine, this is an heirloom piece of equipment, and it can continue to be, but come on, let's be a little more understanding about what we've got here. So you can see there, right? It's just lint. Lint gathers on all sewing machines, yes, even the new ones. They have different methods for keeping them clean. And so I'm just trying to get that lint out of there. Lint is like, it's not unlike if you've ever had lint build up in an old clothes dryer, it really makes the dryer work harder. It doesn't work as well. So, and this is not tough. You need some cotton swabs. I have not used any alcohol. I'm just trying to get, there's so much lint here that if I use my cotton swab first, I'm just wanting to get the biggest clumps of lint that I can. Just go ahead and get those out of there now, because I have other things I'm going to bring in. I've got my lint brush, yes, but look at that. And I'm willing to bet you that in spite of all of this goop that's in here, this machine was still trying to sew. The machine will, when you when you set this thing up to sew, it'll try to do what you're asking, but let's give the machine every opportunity to not only sew, but to really sew well. And it's not asking for much here. We're giving it the maintenance it was designed for. It was truly, and all of you have heard me talk about the Singer 99s, the Singer 66s. They are like tractors. They make great stitches. They're very strong. I would argue that the Singer 66 and its three-quarter siblings, this machine, the 99, the successor to the 99, which is the 185, these machines are arguably the toughest top-loading bobbin machines that you'll ever use. The only thing stronger in domestic sewing machines, based on my own experience with testing them, is the Singer 15 class, because it is a side-loading bobbin, right? It's a vertical, the bobbin sits in a vertical plane, whereas the 66 bobbin, which is also used here, is top-loading, and it's very convenient And it, again, a lot of top loading bobbin machines, they can only sew, you can only push them so hard because the stitch quality starts to suffer. But when it comes to top loading bobbin machines, if you are intent on using one and you've got thick fabrics, maybe you're going to sew webbing for tote bags or something like that, this is an excellent machine to use. It really is. I don't know of one that's stronger. If you do, please share it in the comments. Maybe you've had a different experience. We share things. That's how we learn. That's how I learn. Other people share things. I share things. Boy, there's a lot in here. I can see some old oil. I have to do a video one day talking about why do people oil machines where they don't need oil, and that happens. They guess. You don't want to guess when it comes to that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove our bobbin and our little lever here that was there for this purpose. They even put little texture there, right? That little knurling, so your finger wouldn't slip. Spared no expense. Look at that. I have no idea how old this thread is, but all right, we'll see. It's not hard to figure out if thread is dry rotted because it'll snap pretty easily. But that's a lovely vintage bobbin. Okay, now you can see, you can also, when you're trying to clean out this area, you can, on this machine, especially because of how it's designed to run, notice that the feed dogs, well, all machines have feed dogs that come up and down, and if you put the feed dog in the highest position, then you can get a little bit more access into this area. I can already see another little bunny there. Come here, little bunny. There you go. All right, chasing dust bunnies. This is something I do routinely. Now, when you take a machine to a machine shop, if they're willing to look at it for you, sometimes they will, not always. They don't always like to work on the old machines. We have a wonderful dealer here in town, and they work on machines of all ages, and it's people here are lucky to have a shop like that. Now, they also work on new machines, which all of you know I do not. All right, so I'm trying to go into the little nooks and crannies of my feed dogs here. Where's my little tool? Actually, I'm going to this is the needle that I took out. I'm going to take it. I'm going to come in here. I'll show you. If you really want your feed dogs to be clean, you want to come in here. There's little spaces, and lint is lint can get in these things regardless. And your feed dogs don't work as well if they're full of fuzz. And mix in a little bit of old sewing machine oil, and the machine is going to do its best, but again, you're asking it to work. And in my opinion, unfairly, because you haven't given it the conditions it was designed for. So these machines often perform in spite of their owners. So, or maybe, you want to take care of a machine, but maybe you don't know how. Maybe you didn't know that. And hopefully that's why you're here watching this guy talk and yap on while he's cleaning someone else's mess that they didn't take care of. But again, I think I've always shared with you all, one of the things that tells me a machine is a one owner is the condition, because one owner machines typically they just, oh wow, they paid for them, they never forgot what they paid for them, and they also had a different mindset about you buy something, you take care of it, you should be able to repair it, not replace it. That is something that people are increasingly coming to the realization that, hey, wait a minute, why am I paying all this money for something new that's going to break, and I'm going to have to get another one and another one. That is the original thing I believe that drew me to vintage sewing machines. I don't really, like I say, it wasn't because I was trying to learn to sew. That I think, well, I I had delusions of grandeur that I was going to learn to sew for my graduate school project, my thesis, and there we go, there's a little bit more there. And in the midst of all that, I managed to, look at that. They just, no, the bunnies keep coming here. Wow. And in the midst of that, I fell in love with the machines in the process of thinking I might want to sew. All right, so let's take a look at this mechanism. You've seen it before, or if I should have made videos on this before, because I'm not a stranger to these machines. So of course, what you see here, this is the bobbin case. On this design, again, the Singer 66, 99, 185, you're going to see it's an oscillating shuttle, right? So this big ring down here, I just saw a little bunny pop up there. Come on, there you go. Here's my little something to point with. So as I'm turning the drive shaft with my hand, don't worry, I do not have this machine plugged in. You see this big ring. Well, see if we can get a little more height, it'll make more sense. You will see the shuttle moving, and it's oscillating, right? It's going forwards and backwards, this big giant ring here. What is sitting on top, which is a separate piece, is the bobbin case. Here's the bobbin case right here, right? And it basically, it's held down with this device, and then the bobbin case rides on top of the shuttle. It's an interesting design, and this is why we have, or should have, is there any remnant left of our little felt? I've talked about this a number of occasions in the past. You guys see the little red? You would if I'd give you a better camera angle there. How about there? There we go. You can see, I zoom in for you, see that little red fuzz? That's red felt. That was put there by Singer. There's a little horn-shaped holder for it, and it is there to lubricate the shuttle. So it actually applies oil. It applies oil to the top of the shuttle right here, and also underneath the rim. And that way, the bobbin case has oil to glide on, and it moves. It works a lot better for you when it has that, because that's what it's designed to have. So again, making sure that all of this goop is out of here. Look at there. We still got filth in here. Come on. Wow. Just goes on and on and on. It's probably been, like I say, someone probably, because this machine is so tough and is willing to sew, you know, a lot of times people didn't always clean as they should, or maybe it was handed over or sold to someone who didn't even know that they needed to clean it. I have, with a few exceptions, I have noticed over the years that really most of the time when a machine has been neglected, it wasn't on purpose. It was just either people didn't know or they didn't pay for this machine when it was new. Again, those original owners, wow. If you can get a one-owner machine from someone, or if it's, you know that it's been in that family, your chances of having a machine that is, it may or may not look mint, the paint might have some scratches, but the condition can often be a lot better. So if you want to remove your bobbin case, you can, you can take this piece here and you can move it over. I've shown this. It's been a long time since I did a video like this, but we're going to come up, come here, and we're going to swing it over. Ooh. Make sure our feed dogs are as high as they can be, and we're going to move it. We're going to pivot it. It's very stiff. We're going to pivot it this way, right? And when we do, that is going to allow us to remove our bobbin case. It's supposed to. It's supposed to move. Let's see. Whoops. Now, I just notice if you try to turn the drive shaft, it's not going to move because your feed dogs are going to try to come back down and flatten out again. Now, what did I do? I wiggled it and it came free. It is supposed to come out. Now, sometimes it'll fuss with you like a dog with a bone, but don't despair. And by the way, if you look underneath, you see the rim that goes on a portion of it. You see this, let me point to it for you. You see this rim right here? That is the rim that rides on top of the shuttle. And then underneath, the shuttle has a rim for the bobbin case, the lower side of the bobbin case. Wait a minute, hold on. The underside of your bobbin case rides on top of the rim. But there's another piece, if you look at it, the bobbin case from the side, there's another piece that goes right here that's going to come in contact with the underside of that shuttle, right? So it helps the bobbin case to lock in, right? It holds it still. Wow, look at there. And you thought we were done with dust bunnies. Wow, look at that. This has been a long time. Sometimes a machine can be so tough that people ignore maintenance. It really should have. I mean, this is just, look at that. Oh, gosh. Oh, someone should be ashamed. Really? Really? Oh, God. All right. Well, just imagine if you had to do, you had to do lots of work with your machine, and you're thinking, I heard these machines were tough. Why is it being fussy? Why is it giving me grief? Well, it might be because it's waiting for some service here. This thing was meant to be serviced. And many of you who have analog devices of any kind, it doesn't have to be a sewing machine, it could be, oh gosh, it could be a clock. I have that German-made Black Forest clock of mine that I have here on the table next to where I'm working. It requires service. You don't just sit it and forget it. But it's also pushing 90 years old. So, all right. So I'm going to keep hunting around for lint filth, and I'll continue doing that. Once you have gotten the lint out of here, you can then start to focus on lubrication, but do not start oiling anywhere around here yet, because if you do, you're just making a huge mess for yourself. Lint plus oil, well, you saw, I showed you when I took the plate off, you get mud, you get this awfully sticky goo that's just more effort to clean. So, if you want to not create more work for yourself in the cleaning department, get all the dry stuff out as best you can, and you should be able to get it out. It's one of the simplest things. If there's anything simple about vintage sewing machine restoration, it's just mainly takes patience. All right, let's take a look underneath, see what we've got. And got our bobbin case out for cleaning. Again, I haven't put any alcohol or certainly not any sewing machine oil. We're not anywhere near ready for oil right now. We just need to make sure we're cleaning out the stuff, all that built up junk that's been in there. And of course I now have some down in my tray, but that's all right. I expected that. Now let's look over here. What do we have? I see something. Do you guys see it? I've got it zoomed in here. What is that? Uh-oh. Is that what I have? I wonder if that's one of those things that I often tell people to be careful of, because if you're not careful, you can end up with future problems that you did not imagine having. Looking for my little tweezers here. And you won't enjoy having a thread jam in this area, any area, especially here. So look at there. Let's see if we can get that out. That looks like thread. It may not look very big or threatening, but my tweezers are a little on the wimpy side here. Now, if you have a thread like this, a thread break, I think I've covered this in earlier videos. I had a time with a FOF in the past. One thing you'll want to do is to ensure that if the thread won't come out, you can actually move the shuttle. But before we do that, we got to reset something. Remember what I did here? When I took the bobbin case out, I moved this piece. And you're thinking, hey, why won't my feed dogs, or why won't the drive shaft move? That's because we need to push this back and get it. Now we can move, right? We lifted this up and it was blocking the oops, come here you. There we go. And of course we can see, you can still see the thread piece right there. If you can grab it with your fingers, that's, oh, I did, and it came out. Now, if a piece of thread, right, if a piece of thread ever pulls it back at you and it won't come out like this one just did, it came out loosely. We could have more in there, but this may be the only piece. We'll find out. But if it tugs against you, don't force it, because it'll snap off and you'll know you'll have more in there to get out, right? So what would we do? Let's say that it was, because often these threads will hold on, they won't let go. Then what do? Well, I will reach over here with my right hand and I start to turn, now that I put that bobbin case lock back in place. Now I can turn this, and what you'll find often is that very often the thread will get wound around something that moves, right? No surprise. And when that happens, sometimes I will gently tug on the thread and I'll wiggle the piece that's moving, okay? And sometimes it'll pull the thread in toward the machine, I stop, but sometimes it'll let it loosen. And that can really help you sort of capture those wild thread pieces. Those things can really cause a lot of headaches when you're trying to fix a machine. So like I say, it's not a small thing when you're trying to do that. I want to get my little cushion here back in better position. All right, so what are we doing? We're going to come underneath. Oh, I see more dust bunnies still, right? We got all kinds of stuff under here. We got to get that out. And again, I could take my shop vac and pull it out with the vacuum, but a lot of this stuff is packed in. The vacuum is great when you have loose debris and dust. It's a huge time saver. I'll probably use it on the tray here just to get that out of there. But now I'm looking for something thin. I've got more filth. Oh boy. Looking for something to grab hold of. Sometimes if you have a cotton swab in it and the cotton fibers are loose, that can actually help grab a hold of dust, believe it or not. Normally I like my cotton swabs to be, well, I don't want them to have loose cotton, because then you end up with that, right? That's why I normally, for some of these procedures, I will use, don't worry, we'll get this cotton out of there. A lot of times for these procedures, I use those precision tips to avoid this, what you just saw happen right here. So, and I'm wondering, now I'm going to get my tweezers and pull out the cotton that I just inserted into my own machine I was trying to clean. Let's see, I think I have another pair of tweezers in here somewhere. There we go. And in the process, I managed to get another piece of fuzz out of there. The more patience you have with this process, the more you're going to be able to get obstacles out of the way of your machine, because your machine is waiting for this. You know, for whatever reason, this reminds me of a lawnmower when I was a teenager I would use. And I would use the lawnmower and it would get, damp grass would get caked on it. The mower would work, but it wouldn't work as well as when I cleaned the caked on grass clippings off. All right, now we turn it again, turn your shuttle again and go in there. This, normally when your machine is up and running and it's totally clean, when you go to use your machine and you do your normal lint cleaning, it's normally not this bad unless you let it go a long time. But I have no idea how many decades of filth were in here. But there you go, guys. So if I turn it, I'm not really seeing. I used to try to use canned air to blow, but that could create its own set of problems, because if you do that, then you've got a situation. Also, by the way, you've got filth underneath the rim of your shuttle that needs to come out. And I've shown that before. There's also old oil there. So, again, this is something that if you will sit down and work on your machine when you're not in a hurry, it can be relaxing. Don't let it stress you, because, yeah, look at that. And then as I turn it, as far around as I can get access to it, I'm able to clean that inside of that rim, because again, it's not, I don't know if the inside of the rim was ever cleaned in its life. And like I say, like the old lawnmower, yeah, it'll work, but it would really work so much better if it had all this junk out of its way. If you ever have a machine, some of my viewers, or quite a few of you, you may have machines that you've owned for a long time, and then you'll see a video like this, and if you go through these procedures, it's incredible. I've had people tell me that, wow, once I went through and really gave my machine a full servicing, right? Not just a basic tune, but I went in and basically gave it the spring cleaning of the 100,000-mile tune-up. Wow, what a difference it makes. And then people all of a sudden, wow, I had no idea that my machine could do these things. I didn't know it had this much power, because it was working under the yoke of all this old crud. All right, now what's left underneath here, guys? Again, just using my lint brush. No, I have not used any cleaners. I have definitely not put any oil here. So we're basically wanting to get all the dry stuff off that we can. If you think you've gotten it all off, and then now you can come back with a vacuum and just to see. Let's pull back here. You can always come back after you've used the lint brush. The vacuum may pull out some hidden pieces of dust that you couldn't get to, and that's fine. I still see some. You may see them falling off here. And again, just poke around with the brush. And if you're still not sure, you can turn, because just as with the bobbin area, when you move the drivetrain around, it may give you another angle to reach things that are. Never underestimate dust's ability to cause problems and to hide from you in your machine. And then after you've done the brush, you can come back with a shop vac if you want. Again, make sure all of your precious screws, little parts, are nothing loose when you break out that vacuum, or you're going to be hunting. It's not going to be a fun afternoon to hunt through a vacuum looking for a precious screw. And then, like I say, I'll come back here. I've shown you all before. I'll just come in with my shop vac and vacuum all of this up. And that is, or should be, Did we forget somewhere? Did we forget? Oh, yes, we did. You guys are supposed to remind me. Well, you can't because you're not you're not seeing the video until after I made it. Okay, what about this side? You don't typically see a lot, but this is a good place to look for errant threads. Remember, what is that? Is that a thread or is that just, who knows what that is? Look at there. Haha. You see? And I'm reminded of those crappy infomercials, but wait, there's more. Look at that, guys. Remember, I told you that there are certain areas of a machine that are prone. Now this is pulling against me, right? So what do I want to do here? I don't want to break the thread, because if I do, it'll be harder to get what's left. I'm going to turn. It's getting better light there. See if you guys, there we go. I'm going to hold it loosely, but then I'm going to turn and see if this will, sometimes if you're doing it right, it's going to give you more length, or I can tug at it this way. There. So what's happening is there we go. I pulled it out. There we go. Right there. Okay. So again, I don't think that the Singer 99 or the 66 or 185, they're not particularly vulnerable to this. A lot of this happens when you're winding a bobbin and you don't realize it. Sometimes the thread, normally you might think, well, with my hand wheel on here, why would thread be over here? Because thread typically goes from here, right? It typically goes from your spool pin, and it's going away from the hand wheel. But again, your bobbin winder, even when it's working well, is a classic place to get thread, little pieces of thread that can cause a lot of misery, and you don't want that. So again, we've already cleaned around the motor that came off before, and that's it. That is the dusting of the Singer 99K, and you just spent 47 minutes, if you were able to make it this long, watching me do this. This is important, and it is one of the most important things you can do to your machine before you oil it. So this is why I don't typically run my machines. If I want to test the motor, I do it without engaging the needle, because I don't want to stress the machine. Are you going to break it? Not necessarily, but it can. If you have a piece of thread, it can make it worse. So again, we wake the machine up slowly. We check it out. We've been checking different areas of the machine, working our way down, and I believe once I vacuum up the dust rabbits that are in the bottom of this tray, once I've got that done, then the next item on our agenda here is going to be we're going to start looking at lubricating the machine, and afterwards we'll be testing it to see what it has to say after it has been asleep for so long. Thank you all for watching and hanging in there. This is one of the longer videos that I provided, but I wanted to take you around in the different areas of cleaning an old machine. People have asked me, well, what do I do first? It can vary, but typically I have a certain process. We'll do another machine this way to say, what do you do first? There are different areas of a sewing machine from the vintage age that if you approach it section by section, it's not so overwhelming. And anyway, if you have not subscribed, please feel free to do so. And you can click on any of these videos links to buy me a coffee, and feel free, if you have benefited in any way from this channel, feel free to donate to buy me a coffee. You can click on the link, and it's very, very fast. There's no fuss about it. You go in and you can select how many or how few coffees you'd like to donate to this channel to help me further in acquiring machines that deserve to live on. I really appreciate all of you supporting this channel over the years, as now we have relaunched it. Looking forward to another decade of watching sewing machines wake up, and as we learn to do these processes that are involved in getting them back so that they can sew for generations to come. Thank you all for watching.